Walking down the street, walking my two dogs. One dog belongs to me, one dog belongs to my wife, two beautiful pit bulls. And I'm taking care of them, and I'm being careful because my pit bull is anything that she can find on the floor. She's like a little vacuum. And because she eats every day, she gets sick. So she's been eating a lot of garbage, and she's a little bit sick. So I'm making sure that she doesn't eat anything. So as I'm walking down the street with both of them on the leash, my dog sees a little piece of pizza on the street that has a lot of ants on it, and she lunges for it. So I pull back and I tell her, "Estás loca, no te vas a comer eso." I speak Spanish, so my dog speaks Spanish. Are you crazy? You're not gonna eat that. You're already sick. What are you crazy? I'm talking to my dog, and when I'm talking to my dog, my wife dog goes around me and eats the pizza. And I go, "Tú también? You're gonna get sick. You too, you're gonna get sick. You shouldn't be eating that." And as I'm talking to my dogs, I see a lady that's looking at me because I'm walking them on the sidewalk. And the lady looks at me, and she's probably afraid of the dogs. I used to be afraid of dogs, so she's probably afraid of all my dogs. So I told my dogs to sit down so she could walk. And I say, "They're very friendly. You could walk." And she looks at me and she says, "Well, they would be friendlier if you wouldn't be screaming at them." So I explained I wasn't screaming at them. I was speaking to them in Spanish. And I tend to be very expressive when I speak Spanish. But I wasn't screaming at them. And she said, "Well, this is America, you should speak English." And I immediately want to tell her that America is an Italian word, that English is a foreign language. But instead, I look at her and I say, "Yes, you're right, this is America. Y tengo la libertad de hablar cualquier idioma que yo quiera. I had the freedom to speak any language that I want." She doesn't like that. So she barks at me. Her. Me and my dogs, we bark louder. Her. She walks away. I continue walking my dogs. I go home. I go to work. The next day, I come back from work and my wife is on her laptop and she's looking at Facebook. And she looks at me and she says, "Use Facebook, you're trending." I'm like, "Because of my storytelling?" She's like, No. A lady put a post on Facebook about somebody mistreating dogs. And I go, "That can't be me." I go, "Let me read it to you. There's a Mexican guy walking two dogs." I'm like, "I'm not Mexican, I'm Guatemalan." He has long hair and he's good looking. I'm like, "Oh, that's me." He's mistreating dogs, and somebody should call animal control and take the dogs away. And then I see the comments behind her post. "Oh, those people are always mistreating dogs. Oh, those people use dogs for fighting. Oh, those people should be sent back where they came from. Somebody call animal control. Somebody call ICE." I want to get on the laptop and give the lady a piece of my mind. So I start typing, and immediately my wife grabs my arm. And without a word, I know what she means. Big smile. Big smile, big hug. And I know this because when we started dating, we're coming back from a salsa club, and I'm driving my beat-up car, and I'm drinking soda, and we're talking about the dances that we had, and I'm drinking my soda, and I drive, and I see a police car, and I go, "Phew, he's gonna pull me over." And my then girlfriend said, "Why he's gonna pull you over? You have done nothing wrong." I said, "Because I'm drinking a Coke, a soda, and he probably thinks it's a beer." And my then girlfriend said, "He's not gonna pull you over." So I pull over. And the cop comes to the window and starts asking me questions. "Where you come from?" I'm like, "Well, from Guatemala." "You mean?" "No, I mean dancing." And he's like, "And where you going?" "I'm going to my house, my girlfriend." "And is anybody else in the car?" Like, "No, sorry, just me and her." "Have you been drinking?" "Yes, the Coke, you probably thought it was a beer." "Okay, do you speak English?" And I want to tell her, oh no, I was speaking German to you. And I'm about to say that because that's who I am. And my girlfriend grabs my arm. And she leans over and she's saying, be smart, be calm, be smart. So I take a big breath and I say, yes sir, I go speak English. My driver license and registration right here. He said, whatever. He goes back and checks my information, everything's okay. He lets me go. So when my wife grabs my arm, I know what she means. Be smart. Be smart. Be patient. So I start writing a post on Facebook about how we adopt those 2 dogs. They are rescue dogs. How we took our dogs to the vet. How my dog is sick. How I speak Spanish and my dog's gonna speak Spanish. And I leave my post there. And little by little, the post on her page, on her post, on the lady's post, the comments start to change. Oh, it was a misunderstanding. Oh, everything's okay. Oh, things have been taken out of proportion. And a couple of days later, her post is deleted. I still have my post on Facebook. Because people like me, people of color, sadly, we are always guilty of the proven innocent. Sadly, most of the time we don't get to tell our stories, to tell our sides of the stories. Sadly, most of the time we are silent. We don't have a voice. When I was growing up in Guatemala, I was about 12 years old and I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice because I used to stutter. I couldn't talk. But I wanted to have a voice. And I knew that when I turned 18, I was going to be able to vote. And I was hoping that with my vote and my voice, I was going to be able to stop the civil war in Guatemala. By voting, I was going to have a voice. Because the civil war had made many parents, like my own parents, emigrate to the United States. I wanted to put an end to the civil war. I wanted to put an end to that. But a couple of years later, when I turned 15, my parents decided that it was better for us to emigrate to the United States, and we came to this country undocumented. I never had a chance to vote in Guatemala. I never had a voice in Guatemala. So when I came to this country, I got happy. When I learned that at age 18, I could also vote. Although I used to stutter, although I was undocumented, I thought maybe I could vote. Until I learned that undocumented people, regardless of what you hear on certain TV channels, cannot vote. And I got really sad. Because not only did I stutter, and I didn't know the language, but I couldn't vote. I truly didn't have a voice. But my mother told me, look, I already have a green card, and I have already applied for you and your siblings. All you have to do, she said, is remain single. But I was 15 years old and I started going to high school. And I met a young lady, and a couple of years later, she kind of got pregnant. So we kind of had to get married. And that delayed my immigration process. And 5 years later, we got divorced. So that delayed my immigration process. And 5 years later, I got remarried again. And 5 years later, I got divorced again. So getting married, getting divorced, delayed my immigration process. But when you think about it, getting married, getting divorced, getting married, and getting divorced, it's kind of like the American way of life. The government should have seen me and be like, oh, you're doing it just right. You're a citizen now. They didn't see it that way. It wasn't until about the time when Barack Obama was making his first run to the White House that I got my green card. But with a green card, I still couldn't vote. The privilege is only reserved for citizens. I wanted to be part of electing the first African-American president in the history of the United States of America. I wanted to have a voice, but I still didn't have a voice. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm no longer undocumented because I have a green card. I'm learning to speak English with a sexy Latino accent. I'm getting over my stutter, but I still don't have a voice. I need to become a citizen. So I promised myself that I was going to become a citizen as soon as I could, but but I couldn't vote on the first election of Barack Obama. And I remember in Chicago, people went crazy. People were celebrating in Grand Park, on the bars, everywhere. People were honking their horns. People were screaming, "Si se puede, si se puede, yes we can, yes we can, yes we can." I was at home and I was mad because I couldn't vote. So I promised myself I was going to become a citizen as soon as possible. By the time Barack Obama was making his second run to the White House, I had already gotten lazy and complacent. I was like, it takes too long. I have to take a test. It costs money, I'm cheap. And he's gonna win with it without my help. So he won. It wasn't until Barack Obama's second term was ending and screams of build a wall, started to get really loud, that I promised myself that I was going to become a citizen as soon as possible. I filled out my application, I did everything that I could, but I could not become a citizen in time for the election. And I remember seeing the results of the election, and to be honest with you, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad because it's a democratic process. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't mad. I had to accept the results of the election. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Was I supposed to grab an American flag, run to the Capitol, beat the police officers, go inside the Capitol, and smear pieces all over the place? We don't do that in America. That would be anti-American. That would be crazy. We don't do that. I just promised myself that I was going to become a citizen as soon as possible. But I remember thinking, how many people like me had a green card and just waited too long? How many people were citizens and just didn't feel like voting? African Americans get their lives for the right to vote. Until a couple of decades ago, women were not allowed to vote. There should be no reason whatsoever why we don't go out and vote. We all should go out and vote. So when I finally became a citizen a few years ago, and the election came over again in 2020, I remember going to the voting place, and I got my ballot, and I was so happy voting for the first time in my life, tears running down my face, and I was like exiting the place. I asked for a napkin, and the guy looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Well, I voted for the first time in my life. I finally voted." And he's like, "Okay, then you really need this." And he gave me my I-voter wristband. And I looked at the wristband, and I had to run away from the place so I wouldn't start crying. And I went outside and I took a picture, and I put it on Facebook, in Instagram, on Twitter, on my space, everywhere that I could. And then I sent it to my wife. And my wife texted me, "So how does it feel? How long did it take?" And when I got home, I wanted to tell her. I wanted to tell her that it took forever, that it took a lifetime for me to vote for the first time. But she knows me because she knows my story. So instead, I just told her, "It feels great. I finally have a voice." Thank you.